Welcome to Latina Mic Drop, the podcast where you can show up and show out, where bold moves are not only encouraged, but the standard. This is where excellence meets simplicity and common sense. I'm Miriam Simon, your host, a leadership coach, author, speaker, a mom of three young adults, a grandma in my 40s, and a spouse to the most beautiful, kind soul, on a mission to empower 1 million people to continue to tap into their exponential power. If you're out there building your own family and your own future from scratch, you're in the right place. Join me as we explore the stories, strategies, and secrets that can turn your hustle into legacy and peace of mind. Ready to transform your life? Let's get started. Of Latina Mic Drop. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Latina Mic Drop. Hola, familia, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo les va? How's everything going? So it's been a little cold over here on the East Coast. Had a little rain, and I'm happy to report I went on a second solo trip out to Arizona. That was interesting. I had a really great time out there getting everything ready for Tattoos and Pearls book launch, which happened April 10th, and I'm super excited about everything that is Tattoos and Pearls at this moment, and really happy to be able to bring to you the book, and we'll be able to talk about it a little later on. But first, this is the podcast where we get real, raw, and radical about life, leadership, and reclaiming our voice. So let me ask you something. Did this week feel like survival? Like you were sprinting through the fire, barely able to catch your breath? Maybe you've been sidelined, overlooked, or holding everything together for everyone else. But inside, you're exhausted. If that's you, I want you to know you were never meant to live an emergency. We're talking about how to emerge from emergency. This is personal. I've lived this, and I wrote my new book, Tattoos and Pearls, with you in mind because it doesn't have to be this hard. So let's break it down. So the first one I want to talk about is signs of survival mode, right? Survival mode isn't a personality. It took me some time to figure out that I was living in survival mode, but I figured it out and I realized that I was really looking into just being constantly on edge and in defense mode. Hyper productivity as a trauma response. I felt like I had to continue to do more in order to feel good enough. And you know how it is when you're like saying, I'm fine, when you're far from it. I was living in survival mode as opposed to being at peace. And actually, I didn't feel good being at peace. I felt like I needed to be in the chaos. I felt like I needed to be in survival mode. So, in survival mode, it's like when you get that rush of needing to finish something or needing to do something and needing to like you're always constantly on edge. It's like, oh my god, I have to get this done. Oh my goodness, I have to get that done. Oh my goodness, I'm not good enough. Oh my goodness, I didn't get to do this, I didn't get to do that, kind of thing. Then when you're at peace or you're sitting down or you have a minute to yourself, you don't even know how to sit there and be with yourself and really take it in and take a break. You're like, oh no, I have to go to get up and go do something else, right? And for me, that's something that I did a lot. I did all the time. I was constantly living in survival mode, constantly feeling like I needed to achieve the next big thing. I needed to make more money. I needed to do more. And a lot of times I did, right? I needed to pay my car. I needed to pay the rent. I needed to pay for the electricity for the kids, right? Like I was there where I didn't have money to pay for the heat. So one winter, we literally had our coats on and we were freezing our butts inside the house because we didn't have the heat. But as you go through life, you end up in survival mode because you do need to survive and you do need to figure out what it is that you need to do because literally you are surviving. And so in those moments, right, when you recognize like, I don't need to live like this anymore. I don't need to feel in panic. I don't need to feel constantly on edge or defensive, right? Like A lot of times I used to be like on defense. Like people used to try to help me or people used to be nice to me. And sometimes I would feel like I needed to be like, huh? Like really? Like it was almost like I didn't trust their ability to want to help me, or I was thinking like, yeah, right, whatever, right? Because my parents didn't accept me, and my parents weren't really those kind of supportive parents that said, oh yeah, like we'll take care of it or we'll help you. No, it was like, girl, what could you do for me kind of thing. And I don't blame them for it because they really didn't have anything and really they needed the support as well. So that's why they were asking for it. But in a way, in a sense, right, it was more about, for me, recognizing that I needed to stop being in survival mode and constantly thinking that things were going to disappear or things weren't going to go well, and understand that, okay, I don't need to be so on edge. I don't need to be hyper productive 24/7, to feel good enough. And eventually I learned. You know how that is when you are saying I'm fine, but you're really not, because it's difficult to be able to share sometimes. So, like, sometimes what happens to me is that I get really, well, not now, but I used to. I used to be scared to kind of tell people what I wanted or what I needed. I wasn't even looking into paying attention to what I wanted to eat, right? I would be like starving all day. Talk about being in survival mode. I would literally do for everybody else besides do for me. I would literally go the whole day, do all my meetings, talk to everybody, go ahead and not take a lunch break, not go to the store before to pick up my breakfast or not have breakfast before I left, and then get to work every single minute, every single second, to the point where I never took a break. I never walked. I didn't even know how to go outside until recently, this last year, which I've been not in survival mode and I've been really just making everything work for me and working things out and being strategic about it instead of, like reactive to everything. Now I've been planning everything ahead. But before that, I didn't even get outside. I didn't even know what New York looked like. I didn't even know what was across the street. I had no idea what restaurants were nearby, none whatsoever. And so that was all for me, being in survival mode and just thinking that I needed to work 24/7 to feel valued while I was at work. And then I would come home. And then as soon as my kids knew that I was coming home, they would be calling me and telling me, Mom, can you take me to pick this up? And so I would literally be starving, haven't eaten all day. And instead of me going home to like eat or anything like that, what I would do is I would say, okay, let me pick you up. I'll take you to do, a couple rounds of whatever you want to do. Like they wanted to go pick up their iced coffee in the afternoon and wanted to go to the store or needed to pick up some snacks or whatever they wanted to do. I would go hungry, starving, and not eat. But I had an epiphany one day while I was coming home, and this was after I had some time with my therapist. Well, she asked me, what are you doing for yourself? And I was thinking, all right, so I get my manicures and pedicures, but that was it. And in reality, what was interesting was the fact that I had mentioned to her that I had paid for my wife's massages. And then she said to me, well, what about if you were to do that for yourself? And I was just, I guess I could, and I never did. How many of us are walking around, right, making sure that everybody is taken care of, the kids' snacks are in their bags, that, you get home and you go and you check on this person, you go and you check on that person, you make sure that they have their pencils, pens, books, whatever it is that they need in their backpacks or whatever, and you have no idea what you're going to eat. You haven't even had a drink of water, right? Those are the kinds of things that I was doing too. I was doing that too. I was very guilty of doing that. And so this one time I came home and I was literally starving, like my stomach, I had a headache. I was done. And I said to myself, you know what? Today is the last day that I will ever do this to myself. And I picked up the phone and I called my daughter and I said, no, I am not taking you today because I need to do some errands. So I stopped by the pizzeria, which was on my way home, and I bought myself the dinner that I wanted to eat. And I went ahead and actually sat at the table and had my dinner and ate my food, and everybody was okay. Everything, the world kept turning, everything kept going. And that was the first day that I began to really go ahead and say, you know what? Yes, I am entitled to my lunch. I am entitled to my breakfast. I'm entitled to my breaks. I'm entitled to go to the restroom. How many times don't we go? And everything will be okay. Everybody will be fine and everything will be okay. I'm not saying don't pay attention to anybody. Don't take it to that extent. What I'm saying is make sure that you handle what you need to handle in addition to everything else, but make sure you take care of you first. Because if you're not well and you're just going on zero, it's going to be hard for you, and it's always going to feel like you're in the emergency room, right? Like you see how it is when you go into the emergency room and people are rushing in because they need help like urgently, and we can't live our lives like that forever. That's why we end up in burnout, because we're thinking we need to go 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 go, right, to be able to survive and be able to be okay. There are some circumstances where we would be in that scenario, but not life, not regular day-to-day stuff shouldn't feel that way. I even used to wake up late and used to like stay in bed and then rush to get out. And now I don't do that. Now I take my time. I wake up with enough time to go ahead and do my hair. If I want to put makeup on, make sure that I have my outfit for the day, that it's pressed and ready to go, that I have my comfortable sneakers so that I can wear those to go to work, that I don't trip and fall anywhere while I'm commuting on two trains into the city, and making sure I have gas in my car. Now, all of these things, I do them. I have like planned activities that I do. Make sure that I have my tickets in my New Jersey Transit app. Like some of us are just going, 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 and just moving, moving, moving. And it's time to be able to take those minutes and be able to say, you know what, I need to, or I want to be have a full stomach and be in a peak state where I can do what I need to do. So that's one. The other part that I want to talk about is going from sideline to center stage. So this is directly to those people who are feeling invisible right now. There's definitely an emotional cost of being overlooked. It takes some time to be able to take up space. And I think sometimes as women, I know for me, culturally, I was taught to be the last person to eat dinner if you're like the head of the household. So my grandmother used to do that, right? My grandmother would invite everybody over, all her kids would come, all the grandkids would show up. And what would happen? Everybody would eat, right? The women were in the kitchen helping. So all of us had a task to do, even me. I would like cut the lettuce or grate the cheese for tostadas, let's say, if we had pozole and tostadas or we had tostadas. And then after everybody ate, my grandmother was the last one to eat. She wouldn't even sit down. She would make sure that she was there frying those tortillas and getting everybody a plate and making everybody what they wanted until the end. And I began to do this elsewhere in the office. I didn't just do it in my family. I didn't just do it with my kids. I didn't just do it with my wife. I also did it at work. And so at work, it looked like, okay, you want to go center stage, or you want to talk, you want to take the lead on this project. Okay, go ahead. Right. And I would take a step back and I would be invisible, and I would do a lot of the work behind the scenes all the time. I was always a team player that always made sure that everybody was on track and that everything was getting done. If this person didn't do it, then I want to take care of it. But then what happened was that I wasn't getting any credit for the work that I was doing. People were thinking that I wasn't participating because they didn't see it, or I wouldn't take up space and I wouldn't say, okay, let me be the person that's going to talk to the group, or let me be the project lead, right? I wouldn't even raise my hand to do that kind of stuff. But what I needed to do was I needed to find my voice, understand that I did have a voice, understand that I did have something to offer, and let people know what I was doing. So it's really important that we're able to share what we work on and what our highlights are for the week and what we've been able to accomplish either on a weekly basis, monthly basis. I like to do it sometimes even a couple times a week with my supervisors and managers just so that they stay in the loop. But it's always important to be able to share the wealth and share the credit with other people as well. And asking for what we want is important. So I started to advocate for myself. As soon as I got into the leadership role in HR, I began to say that I wanted to have a higher position, or this position should be this because of that. And asking is not easy because, you could be seen as like somebody who's like just asking for more, or you're ungrateful, or as women, we're not seen as people who should be asking. But I did it anyways. And the good thing is that the first person that I worked with, she was really great and she was able to help. She saw the vision. It's really about setting boundaries. I needed to set those boundaries and I needed to stop being the person that was working and doing everything for the team, right? You have some people who are really quick to say, oh, we have this idea and this is such a great idea, but then they won't go and do the work. They'll tell you to go ahead and do X, Y, and Z and ABC and one, two, three. And then they show up at the end and then they're the face of the project, like they did everything. Well, I was the one behind the scenes and other people were starting to look good. And so I needed to learn how to say, well, no, I'm going to do this. You're going to do that. It would be best if we work together and we collaborate as a team and we can work as, on this task and you can work on this task. How does that sound? And then they would be willing to take on some of the parts. And if they're not, then maybe that's not the right partnership to be working with unless they have a leadership role. But I mean, leaders are working managers most of the time, anyways. I feel like everybody should have a participating part in any kind of project. It's not just about talking and leading, and leadership looks very different. But there are ways that we can all collaborate and work together in a way that is helpful for all of us. But sometimes, if you don't say what you want, they will tell you what to do and they will continue to tell you what to do. And showing up is hard, and asking for what you need and what you want is hard sometimes too. But as you get through it and as you begin to ask and as you begin to recognize, oh, this is the way that I should say it, or oh, this is what resonates more with people, or yes, I have worked this hard, so yes, I can go ahead and ask them, then you can do that, right? And I really encourage you all to write down your own narrative, right? And not wait for someone else to choose them. So this is what was happening to me is I felt sidelined after I lost my executive sponsor and the leadership roles changed. And so I felt afraid and I did feel sidelined and I wasn't included in many of the different meetings that were happening that I was accustomed to being a part of. And what happened is that I said, okay, so this is not the space where I can thrive or continue to thrive. So let me find my own place where I can thrive and I do belong and I can do other things. And that's how I ended up being an author. That's how I ended up sharing my voice outside of the organization that I work with. And that's how I ended up being able to contribute to Forbes. And that's how I ended up writing my own book, Tattoos and Pearls. And I was just thinking about that last night, like how I have the freedom now. I've been part of many different groups, right? From the Hispanic Society, now being able to help two EBRGs. So I just think about how much freedom I actually have right now to be able to bring the programs that I want to help other people. In the past, I've been trying to get some other things out the door, but because people don't see the vision, it has been difficult to be able to bring them to fruition. But now that I have the freedom to be able to bring it to the other groups that I'm leading outside of my organization. I am just so happy and so excited for what's to come, because now the narrative can change and the narrative can be what I want it to be, because I'm the creator of it, right? So because I'm the creator of it and I have the full rights to be able to share what it is that I want, it just makes it so much easier and so much better. And not that what I'm doing in the organization isn't good, but I'm not waiting for anybody else to choose for me what it is. At some point I was, and I was like seeking approval, but that didn't work out for too long. And now the relationships are way better, because I stopped trying to fit into a place that it wasn't meant for me to be there. And now that I found my own, it's been so gratifying to be able to share as much as I do. And this is how even Latina Mic Drop came into play. I was kind of like alluding to it in the previous segment here. Sometimes like an emergency exit is the plan, right? So like I needed to know that I needed to let go of the way things were before. So the way that I was leading needed to change in order for me to be able to continue to thrive in this new environment. When the players change, the culture changes, everything changes, the rules change, right? So the rules changed, people changed, culture changed. And I needed to figure out if I was going to adjust to it, if I was going to thrive in it, or if I was going to walk out of there, or, have an exit plan. Sometimes that is the answer, to have an exit plan. Sometimes it works for us, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you learn from the experience and you tap into places you didn't even realize, and those challenges become another way, another flexibility, like another agile way where you can still demonstrate that you're worthy and you do what you would do. Be yourself at all times, because not once did I change myself for anybody else. I would never. That is the one thing. You get what you see. I am Miriam Simon from the beginning to the end, wherever I am, in whatever environment I'm in. And sometimes, there's a difference really between quitting and choosing yourself. In this moment, I really needed to choose myself instead of keep trying to live an experience that wasn't available anymore. It just didn't exist anymore. And I wasn't going to quit, right? I wasn't going to like walk out of there. I worked really hard to get to where I've been. I worked really hard to get to where I was headed, and people have mad respect for me. The respect that I have, it's so incredible, and I'm so grateful for it. And I know the responsibility that I have to these people that I serve, and I serve a big community. Even though some people may think it's small, but it's not, because to have support staff who are only 2 to 3% support the rest of the organization, like 97%, that's a lot. That's huge. So for these people to be the foundational pieces, the foundational people to the rest of the organization, is huge. Now, everybody plays a part. We're not going to minimize anybody, because everybody has their part that they play. And I even talk about that in my book, how we have to learn the players and figure out the game. What position do you play? In this case, this is what I needed to do. I needed to stop thinking, accept the fact that things had changed. It was different. Point blank, simple, the end. It just was not the same. But it didn't mean it was bad. It just different. So now I needed to figure out, hey, how do I choose myself, and how do I continue to thrive and continue to do what I love to do? And how do I continue to do it within this, system that I'm a part of? And I was able to continue to do the great work that I did. And every single moment, every single time when I did have an opportunity or a chance to go ahead and bring it in, right? Like share what I was doing, it was always excellent and it was always great. So it was always working out. So it wasn't something that I needed to like really walk out of. And especially, I'm not going to do that, because it's such a great place to work. We do great things there. How could I walk out of something just because the circumstances changed? It didn't mean it was horrible. It just meant that there were new needs for my role, and I needed to figure that piece out. And I'm so happy I did, because now I'm doing excellent things. I wish I had recognized it sooner, right? Because I did go through a tough time, and I did go through some challenges, and I was trying to feel validated by somebody who just wasn't going to give me the validation, because they just don't see me the way the other person did. And it's very different, because like some of us work differently, and some of us speak differently, or our languages are different. And for some people, it's harder to find common thread with people. I find it really easily with other people, but other people don't with me, or it's hard for them to understand. And what's hard too is the people that are it should be instead of what it is, right? But I needed to figure out how I can make it work for myself and choose myself. And I just wish that I would have not tried so hard in the beginning to change. I was really trying to seek approval for something that wasn't going to come. This person was just always going to have a million and one questions. And I was always trying to answer all those questions. And then I would get mad when they had questions. But I came to recognize that the reason why they had questions was because they were really new into their position. So they weren't going to have the same knowledge as the other people. It wasn't because they were questioning my ability or my authority. Really, they just wanted information from me. And that's what I learned to give them. In the beginning, I was getting a little bit defensive and kind of feeling like, oh my goodness, but that changed really fast, because through coaching, I learned that I shouldn't look at things that way. And it was a good challenge, because it taught me how to continue to be myself and to continue to thrive in different circumstances, regardless of the system that I'm in. So I love that part. I really do. But sometimes it is an opportunity to say, maybe I should not be here anymore. I've had other people that it was very difficult for them throughout the years, not current, but throughout the years of corporate America, all the time that I've been working, where it just didn't work for them. They knew that this wasn't going to work out for them. They knew that they had to go, or that they needed to figure out what was the best for them and find another job elsewhere. And what I do want to say is that there is an opportunity to be able to live life differently, and you can have a rebirth. What I do now, which I didn't do before, which has helped me tremendously, because I'm a highly emotional person. As you can see, I'm very high energy. What happens is that my emotions are high often. I needed to recognize that I'm a highly emotional person, and I needed to recognize what are those rituals that can ground me. I hadn't done that. I hadn't really practiced that. When I was 18 years old, I did go to yoga, and that's when I was introduced to it when I was in a college summer program, before I couldn't finish college because I was taking care of my son. But I really hadn't used it consistently as a ritual to ground myself and be present with people. And through the coaching experience, while I was in my training program, I realized that I wasn't being present. That was a really hurtful experience for me, because I recognized that I wasn't being there fully for other people. I had a moment in a coaching session very early in the training where the coach stopped me in my tracks. I will never forget that day, because that was the day that I knew that I learned that my presence was not there, and that I needed to figure that part out. And ever since then, I've been able to do it. And I've been able to ground myself before. Some of the practices that I do is some breathing exercises before I get started, even before I do the podcast. When I am in a situation that is very challenging, or I don't like the outcome, right? What I do is I will journal, and I will write it out. And what I do is I write down the information. I have to remember too, right, that I was used to being in chaos, and I need to remember that that's not the kind of life that I want to continue to live, and that's not my normal place to be. And sometimes I do get triggered when I feel the headache that's coming, or the bottling up in my body, the tensing. Right now, I've learned to listen to my body. And when that happens, I say, oh, you know what? I have a lot to express. And sometimes the emotions don't come up as quickly as I would like them to let out a good cry. What I do is I'll grab a piece of paper. And at first, the words don't come, right? But I'll just start writing about the situation, and I'll start writing, okay, this is what happened, this is what's going on. And then as you start writing and you start expressing it on a piece of paper, all of a sudden, then those feelings start to come up. And then sometimes it does lead me crying and letting it out and expressing it. Sometimes it doesn't. Always, every time at the end, I feel way better. I feel relieved. And then I also have that moment of clarity, right? Of saying, okay, it wasn't here, but this is the redirection, right? This no is the redirection to this yes. And how does it play out, right? How does this work for me instead of not for me? How does it working for me, and what in it's how is it in alignment with everything else that I want to accomplish? And then I'm able to do that. So like 15-20 minutes I spend doing that, and then by the time I'm done, I feel so much better. Then I can move on with my day, and I can go ahead and continue and be more creative and do whatever else I was doing and look at the situation differently. Like, I don't hold on to it. Like, I think sometimes we hold on to things because we don't know how to express them and we don't know how to get them out. And so we need to figure out what works for us. And I challenge you to give it a try and see what helps you. Sometimes what I do too is I listen to a good meditation. I listen to, I like grounding exercises. I like the coaches that do that. So they'll take you through like a 2-3 minute grounding session. And the last thing that I do sometimes, like just last week, I was part of a community call, and I purposely joined because I knew that I needed to have the support of other people because I was going through the book launch. And so because I was going to the book launch where my biggest fear of judgment, was going to hit the airwaves, that feedback is going to start coming in. I really needed to be surrounded by people. And the good thing was that they were speaking about limiting beliefs and how we turned it around. Then I was able to get into a breakout room and I was able to express it. I was able to express my feelings and understand where all of this was coming from. And then I knew that it was going to be okay. These are the kinds of things that I do to reset myself and be able to continue on, even though things are challenging. I mean, I'm going through a lot of new stuff. Everything is new in my outside world. So it's very, very different. People I'm meeting are new. Traveling by myself is new. Putting myself out there, right? Doing social media is new. There's so many different new things, like uploading my own book into Amazon, an ebook, right? All of these things are new. So it's very, very new. And so I need to figure out how to help myself through those challenges of doing these things that are hard but getting through it. And so these are the things that I've learned to do. And I'm pretty sure that you can find that even in the mess, right in the middle of the mess, you can figure out a way to understand what's happening and see what the silver lining is, and then figure out how you can move forward. But I definitely, definitely do challenge you to go ahead and take the time and go ahead and address it, not just like throw it under the rug or like suppress those feelings or suppress those thoughts. And because what happens is that you don't want to get into burnout, and you don't want to just not recognize what's really happening or what you're thinking, and challenge your thinking too, because sometimes I thoughts come into my head and I'm like, that's not true. And I need to really tell myself, where are the facts, and the facts are this, and then I'm okay. And it happens to everybody because we have so many thoughts that come into our heads all the time. And lastly, I want to talk about, right, how Tattoos and Pearls is my love letter to the women who are tired of pretending, to the leaders who's ready to heal and ready to lead from a deeper place. It is just really important that all of us walk through life as ourselves and are able to be okay with all the decisions that we make. It took me a long time to find my worth, and it took me a long time to accept myself because I am part of the LGBTQ plus community, and my mom did not accept me. And as you'll read in the book, my father did not acknowledge me from a little girl. And so I've been carrying all that with me throughout my adult years. And until recently, I've been able to overcome that. And even without that, there's just so many different ways that we feel as women we need to hide who we are. I didn't even used to tell people I had kids because I knew that some people would judge me or think that because I had kids, I wasn't going to be able to do my job or I wasn't going to be as reliable. And the other part too was I hid, my partner for so many years. We've been together 18, this year will be 19. I didn't let people know. I didn't let people in because I was so afraid of the judgment. Imagine, I have my mom who does not accept it. So imagine, like, I didn't want to put myself through that at work or anywhere else. People are very accepting, and everybody has accepted me at work. It was just an internal thing that I needed to get over. And people are just so amazing. What I wanted to do was within the book is I wanted to be able to share everything I've learned throughout all these and give you the extra bonuses such as the instinct and influence, right? I once had a person who told me, you lack influence and persuasion, right? And maybe at that time I did. And so that's why it's really important for me to share like the instinct and influence piece, because I really do want you all to understand that you do have influence and you can find your voice and you can use your instinct and your gut. Like it when it does come up, right? Some of us there've been plenty of times where I didn't listen to it. I saw the red flags. I knew it was wrong. I knew something wasn't right and I still did it anyways, or I still participated, or I didn't stand up for myself and I didn't say anything. And that's not cool. Now we don't need to do that anymore, right? I think it was ingrained in us before to have to put up with stuff to be okay, but now we don't. And so I wanted to give you the tools so that you can go ahead and look introspectively into your life and into how you're feeling and what it is that you want to do. Because how many of us, right? How many of us are doing, and how many people come and say, hey, do you need this? Hey, are you okay? Because let me tell you, it's very strange. People think I have it. I'm a rock. Like I have everything sorted out. But you know how nice it would be for somebody to come and say, hey, Miriam, can I help you with this? Is it okay? Like you want to go to lunch or you want to have dinner or, like you need any help? How can I help you? And I am starting to see those people because I've changed the way that I see life and the way that I accept things. And it's different for me now, but it wasn't always. And that's why I wanted to be different for you, because I am really having a great time and enjoying everything that I'm doing. And it's because I've been open and in embracing everything new and everything good in my life and being accepting of others, of other support and asking for what I need, right? People are not going to know what you need unless you ask. And so it's been really great to be able to do those things. And I want to be able to do that for you. And the other bonus is a companion workbook. So I really dive deep into all my life experiences and I introduce the INC framework, which stands for instinct, right? That's like listening to your gut and understanding that it exists. Some of us, we don't listen to it. Something is like around there, but we're not really paying attention. Then we have the navigation piece, because you want to learn how everything works, right? But then you want to make sure that it's working for you. Not that it works for everybody else and in the system that we're in, but that it works for you. Like, so sometimes we do have to create our own rules and we do have to say, oh, wait, this doesn't work anymore. I think we need to change it, especially as women in the workplace. So many of us are working in male dominated industries because women were not in the workplace before. We were expected to be home raising kids. So many of us are not choosing to have kids, right? Now I feel like that because my kids are all big and they're all doing their own thing. So I feel you. I feel you 100%. I have my dog, Miko, who always hangs out with me, and you can catch him on TikTok and on IG. And the K is the killer mindset. right? If we don't have a mindset that is going to be as powerful as whatever it is that we want to accomplish, how are we going to get it done? Like, if you don't believe in yourself, how is anybody else going to believe in you? And I 100% like, yeah, some people may think I'm a little bit, people may think I'm arrogant. I don't really care, or self serving or whatever it is. That's not important to me, because you know what? What's important to me is the fact that, yes, if I need something, I'm going to ask for something. If I need to advocate for something, yes, I'm going to advocate for it. If I feel the need to go ahead and be that person that will disrupt the status quo, I will, because other people, are missing out or whatever it might be. And you cannot do it if you're like, oh my goodness, or like you have a mindset that you can or you won't. In order for you to accomplish big things and be excellent and figure that out, like, you have to get beyond your feelings and beyond the day to day and beyond the challenges, because they will pop up. They pop up all the time. Me getting to this finish line of the book, I mean, let me tell you how many times we were thinking it was going to come out and we were going to work on it and we were going to be able to get to it, and it didn't happen. And because of whatever, something came up or something else. So you have to be persistent and you have to be able to continue to say, you know what? Okay, there's a reason for this, right? Like, I believe in divine timing and divine intervention. And so I was just thinking, okay, like, maybe it's not the right time. The right time will come, but you're still working on it. I'm not like saying, oh, I'm going to quit or this is horrible. And you get going. And the killer mindset is really what's going to be able to take you to the next step, because you need to be that person who says, yes, I am the best. Like, you really do need to believe in it in order for you to get there. I know I needed to. Like, I've been top 5% of my high school. I graduated with honors. Anything I do, I make sure that I do it at excellence level. And you know how many times people said no, or people didn't believe in me, or my sponsors who you thought were going to be your sponsors weren't, because they were like, you'll never get that. You'll never convince them. It'll never happen. Or no, you need to stay here. You need to sit there. And then I said to myself, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Or no, they put you in a box and think that this is the way you should be, or this is the way that happens. The mindset is the one that's going to get you to the next step. That's going to keep you going. The one that's going to say, okay, you know what? Today was a challenging day. I didn't get to where I needed to get to, but there's tomorrow. What can I learn from what happened? And how can I get to the next step? And then what else? And what else, right? And I do it at my own pace, and I don't do anything that's like out of the ordinary, because I've learned to understand that when things aren't for me, they aren't for me. And when things are not going to work out, they're just not going to work out. And sometimes it just needs to be redirection. But all of this mindset and everything and how I see life, all of that had to be worked on, because I didn't see everything the way that I see it today. And it happened gradually with every single challenge, with every single life experience, with every single person that I've surrounded myself with, good or bad. I've learned from all of them. And that's why I've added all of these things, so it's not so hard for you, because I do not put out fires. It's very rare. I do not work that way at all. And I've created it that way. I'm not fighting fires every single day. I know what needs to happen. I know what's coming next. And I know what it takes. And I know how to advocate for what I need and what it's going to take to do something. Like, that's what a real leader does. What a real leader does is understands that, okay, this is the situation. Now, how do we make it work? And what is the time that we need so we can plan and strategize? And what's the best way forward for everyone? Not just what's best for me or what's best for them, or let's run and let's rush and let's no. We're going to do this and carefully thought out. We're going to think about everything all together. Who is it that I have not brought in that I need to bring in to get their insight, to get to the best outcome? And how are we going to get there? How long is it going to take? We're going to add a little bit more time because we may need it. And understand that when we launch, sometimes we may launch messy or implement, that we're going to have mistakes, or we're going to have things that we will need to change once it does go out. Then you go ahead and you move on and you do it that way, right? But this is why I included the companion workbook in Tattoos and Pearls, because I wanted you all, as you go and you learn through everything and you read whatever resonates with you, whatever may be applicable to your life, to your experience, then you can go ahead and use the companion workbook to say, okay, let me do this exercise, because I added 2 different activities per chapter for all of you based on the Inc. framework to be able to understand and help you navigate where you are, because that's the best part about everything is just understanding where you are, figuring out where you are, what the gaps are, and how you can move forward. And then lastly, I added the Pearl strategy at the end and gave you one activity for each of those so that you can start to say, okay, how can I implement the Pearl strategy into my life, either personal or professional, however it may apply to you. And that's why I added that in there, because these are all the different ways and all the different things that I take into consideration that have helped me get to where I'm at and be able to be at peace, be able to strategize, be able to handle this, be in charge of that, have my own business, work my regular 9 to 5, have my podcast, have my marriage for almost 2 decades, raised my 3 kids. Now they're on their own. Now I needed to be different kind of mom to them, right? There's different roles that we play. Everything though has to work for me. And how do I feel good about it? How can I go to bed at night? How can I relax and be well? And that's what I've been doing. I've took back my life and I took back everything because I had just given it all to other people and I hadn't even realized it. But once I noticed, I came back to me and I began to help and I began to surround myself with the people that were going to help me. And now I want to help you because I know how important it is to be good and to be happy and to be able to raise our children, be married, have our families, have our profession, and just be ourselves wherever we are and even do things that we like to do. I love to be here on the podcast. I love to write my book. Like, I can't believe that it's actually out there. And I'm super excited that it is. And I'm so happy that we're able to connect in such a way that we will be able to become the leader of leaders, be jefa de jefas. That's my goal. My goal is that we are the leaders of the leaders. Whoever surrounds themselves with me, we are the leaders of the leaders. We are ahead of the game. We have broken cycles. Now we're the gate breakers who have risen to levels that nobody else in our families have or nobody else in our proximity has. And now we're the ones who have the blueprint for other people to continue to do the same. And for us to continue to break barriers and continue to do new things. I love innovation. Like, it just, I love it. I love technology too. I love how it's helping us. I love how it's augmenting our experience at work, in personal life, everywhere. Like, it's just so amazing where we're going and getting rid of those distractions. People are going to be in your ear. Listen, I used to think about, oh my God, I was like, yeah, these people are just in my ear, in my ear, in my ear all day, every day. No, no, I need to close the door and I need to shut you out for a hot second because I need a moment. And I literally did that at work one day in the lunchroom. I said, okay, hold on 1 second because I need a moment. And I went to the lunchroom because I knew I could lock it, closed it, and just had 5 minutes to myself because I needed to think and come back and understand. And then because it was a decision that I needed to make for me and understand that, hey, this is something I needed to shut everybody out for a hot second and think for me, what the hell is it that I want? What is going to work for me? How am I going to be going into this situation, right? And sometimes you need that. And when you need it, you take it. You ask for it and you say, okay, just give me a second. I need to come back. And you go ahead and you do it elsewhere because you don't need to show everything to everybody all the time. You don't. And so I had to learn how to do it and under the different pressures from different people because we're surrounded by people. There's just no other way. But we need to realize that we can listen to ourselves and we can help ourselves and we can help each other. And the way that you do it for yourself is important. And it's important to me. So I'm just super happy and excited. I invite you to go ahead and pick up my book, Tattoos and Pearls, Combining Street Wisdom with Corporate Strategy. It's not just for you to read, it's to rebuild and be able to go ahead and move on and live the best lives that we want to live And you weren't born to just survive the fire, you were made to rise from it. So take the earrings off, fix your crown, and let's go. The emergency's over. It's time to emerge. Thank you for another episode of Latina Mic Drop. See you on the other side. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to Latina Mic Drop. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're building something extraordinary together. If today's episode inspired you, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. For one-on-one coaching and more resources, follow me on your favorite social media platforms at author Miriam Simon, or visit my website at Miriam Simon Online. Until next time, keep turning your tattoos into pearls of wisdom and your dreams into reality. Stay strong, stay focused, and let's make history.